Hello. You've caught us here at everyone's favorite time of the year. That's right, it's the middle of the holiday season. That pivotal time of year when there's just a little more magic in the air. And when you own a video store, you have to take that into consideration and remember that everyone loves retro whimsy because it brings in the customers. So I'm decorating every shelf so that it looks really good so that people spend some money. And what the? Oh my God, what is this? Ow! It cut me. What? I'm watching you? Oh no. I'm in the horror section. It's Christmas time. There's a creepy note and a candy cane shiv. This can only mean one thing. Somebody's trying to kill me. And if someone is trying to kill me, that would actually make perfect sense because everyone knows that some of the best horror movies take place at Christmas time. Well, we've all seen the 1974 Bob Clark classic Black Christmas starring Margaret Kidder and Olivia Hussey. It's about a bunch of sorority students who get killed while they're at a sorority.
Black Christmas takes place in a sorority house right as holiday break is beginning. Now, some girls are getting ready to leave for the holiday while others are planning to stay. They experience gross phone calls from an unknown caller.
Hey, quiet! It's him again! The Mona!
We've got Barb, Jess, Mrs. McHenry, Peter, and even Lieutenant Fuller, who's played by John Saxon. The plot is straightforward. There's girls, there's phone calls, there's murder, there's Olivia Hussey's knitted hand sweater that is absolutely amazing. I mean, seriously, I want that so bad. I am looking on eBay for it immediately after this episode is over. And, of course, there's Christmas. It's a big, eerie whodunit with a nice twist ending. The film was produced and directed by Bob Clark, who also directed the 1983 classic A Christmas Story, which some consider the yin to Black Christmas's yang. Some of Clark's first films that preceded Black Christmas were Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things and Death Dream, which features the special effects stylings of none other than Tom Savini. Clark also directed Porky's, Baby Geniuses 1 and 2, and The Karate Dog, making him one of the most well-rounded and dynamic directors of our time. There's a steady unease that plays throughout the entire film, as you're never quite sure who the killer is and who is and isn't safe. The jarring point-of-view shots and cinematography as a whole help make the uneasy tonality of the film stand out and really elevate the tense script. Both the characters of Barb and Mrs. McHenry offer some wonderfully timed comedic moments, thanks to alcohol.
No, I've had a couple.
No.
I think the little bugger schnockered, son of a bitch.
And Barb's accessories are truly spot on. Also, I've always been absolutely enthralled with the way Olivia Hussey answers the phone.
Hello? Hello? Pardon? Who? Hello? Hello?
Black Christmas is considered one of the most important horror films ever made for a number of reasons. It's an early slasher film that has long been cited as inspiration for John Carpenter's Halloween. And it also cemented Christmas on the map as fair game for the horror genre. It's wonderfully made and is still just as unsettling today as it was the first time that I saw it. And seriously though, if anyone knows where I can get that sweater, please let me know.
As long as you love me so, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's soup.
Let it snow, let it snow.
Campbell's.
Some women enjoy romance.
I've never been more in love with you than I am right this second. Some take action.
I thought you said you wanted me to live here.
I did.
Great. I'm moving in.
Some women like a challenge.
I knew I could count on you, Harry.
Other women live only for passion.
Made me feel things I've never felt before.
But women who have loving, well, they've got it all. Weekdays.
Christmas on the avenue.
Magic in the air. Ornaments big as trees. Toy soldiers big as life.
Christmas on the avenue.
It's Christmas time in the city. Shop, dine, and share the joy of the avenue.
The city comes to life.
Tower City Center. There's no place quite like it.
Hey!
Santa! He's gonna kill me!
No, I'm gonna rent this.
No! We don't rent those! And you can understand why I thought he was going to kill me because of movies like these. Silent Night, Deadly Night. A film series that had a killer Santa that spawned 6 sequels with a plot that was about as convoluted as Christmas itself. We're closed!
I just want to rent a lingerie video. Bar's closed.
Santa, go home!
All right.
And kind of like how I just randomly wound up in the back room with no explanation, now we're on to Silent Night, Deadly Night, Part 2. Do you really even need to see Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2? Because it reuses about 89% of the original footage from Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 1. However, I will recommend it based solely on this one scene alone.
Garbage day! Huh? No!
Pizza Hut, pizza to go. Pizza Hut, pizza to go. Pizza Hut, pizza to go.
Pizza Hut Pan Pizza is a special way to warm the busy holiday season. So call ahead and we'll have it fresh, hot, and ready to go.
Pizza Hut, pizza to go.
Don't Open Till Christmas is a unique entry in the Killer Santa category. It's a 1984 British slasher film that has a killer on the loose who has their sights set on murdering anyone who happens to be dressed as Santa, which apparently was a lot of people in the 80s in London. The movie opens with a scene of a Santa being killed, and the people who witness have the same reaction as if they had just been told that their Stouffer's pizza was still frozen. I mean, I know that the British have a stiff upper lip, but everyone is completely nonplussed.
Anything new?
There's been another killing.
Big deal. If it's the chestnut vendor, it's already been in the papers.
My father's just been murdered. I can't concentrate.
Yeah, right. Sorry. You have to come back into the real world sometime.
Now, this is the same blonde woman who just saw her father get killed on stage yesterday. Her boyfriend is telling her to get over it because he's already bored. Let's see what he does for a living. This has got to be good. Oh, of course. He plays the flute on a street corner for money. And wait a minute. Do you see that? That flute he's playing has duct tape over the mouthpiece, which I'm assuming is so that he doesn't accidentally blow into it and make a sound that would get picked up while they're filming. But geez, how bad is this guy at pantomime playing the flute that he can't do it without honking into the thing to the point where they have to tape it up? At least stop holding it directly to the camera. This movie is a wild ride of a film. And I mean, just check out the MacGyver level of weaponry. It has one of the most insane endings in a Christmas flick that you will ever see. Now, I know we've been talking about Christmas-heavy horror, but one of my favorite subgenres is loosely related Christmas movies. That is, where the plot isn't centered completely around Christmas, but it is taking place during Christmas. And if Die Hard is a Christmas movie, then so is the 1990 undersung film I Come in Peace, starring Dolph Lundgren. This is a movie I was introduced to far too late in life, but I love it so much. It is about alien drug users who are here to inject humans with synthetic heroin and then extract the endorphins from their brains while they're high, which the aliens use to get high themselves.
All the blood's leaving my head. You drop that, please.
Okay now, Boner. Who killed my partner? And who's got the drugs?
The fucking Martian.
Oh, and the alien who's here to get humans forced endorphins, he kills people with CDs.
I come in peace.
Yeah, sure you do, tall guy. What are you, a politician? Hey, come along.
Imagine getting taken out by a Michael McDonald CD. How embarrassing. This movie has got everything. It's got boobs, it's got explosions, it's got Dolph Lundgren. It also has one of the greatest lines in cinematic history.
Why don't we just cut the crap, man, and get down to business?
What university did you attend?
The University of Suck My Dick.
Any other graduates out there?
That's the murder weapon, huh?
It was directed by Craig Baxley, who is also a stuntman and even a stunt coordinator on The Warriors and Predator. If this is the kind of movie that comes out of stuntmen, then I am going to lobby for more stuntman directors, please.
Get down!
Now that's a murder weapon.
Say what?
This Christmas, people are being very choosy.
Merry Christmas.
It's perfect.
Snoopy and Woodstock. Oh, thank you, my dear.
If you want to do something that'll be genuinely appreciated, be choosy and get Genuine Bell. Because when you get right down to it, this isn't the phone. This is.
Merry Christmas, Daddy.
For me? It's for you.
Be choosy, get Genuine Bell.
Wednesday, Kenny Rogers, Dolly Parton, together for the holidays in a musical, magical Yuletide celebration. Kenny and Dolly, a Christmas to remember.
Climb aboard.
Next reindeer's due any minute.
It's those sensational California raisins in the Emmy-winning Claymation Christmas celebration. Next.
Santa's Sleigh is a 2005 movie starring former wrestler Bill Goldberg. It's about a demonic Santa whose former arrangement of good deed toy giving has run out, and he's now reverted back to his evil ways.
Oh, I've waited a long time for this day.
Not half as long as I have. Unfortunately, your time is about to expire.
So you're done spreading joy and warming the hearts of children everywhere.
I hate children.
There is so much happening in this movie from the first second that it opens. There's no way I can even explain it all. It's just amazing, and it's something you have to see for yourself. Trust me, you won't be sorry. The cast that opens the movie itself, listen to this. We've got Fran Drescher, Noxzema girl Rebecca Gayheart, Chris Kattan, and then, for reasons no one knows, award-winning and well-respected actor James Caan. And believe me, I'm not spoiling a single thing by sharing this scene with you because this is what opens the movie.
Santa?
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
Who are you? What are you doing?
You want some?
Writer and director David Steiman poured every ounce of effort into this film, and it absolutely shows. I watched every special feature the DVD has to offer, and you should too. His enthusiasm for achieving his vision of the murderous Santa is contagious, and his attention to detail on set does not go unnoticed. He is so excited to be making this film, it reminded me instantly of Jim Isaac and his Jason X directorial efforts. What Steinman achieved with the budget they had is truly impressive. It's absolutely over the top in the best way possible. While not incredibly active on Twitter, David Steinman's most recent tweet came after we sadly lost actor James Caan when he tweeted, "It was a great memory for me." For him, probably one he wanted to forget. Whether it's Christmas or not, Santa's Sleigh is a must-see at any time of year. You'll never believe who I have here with me. I have the writer and director of one of my all-time favorite holiday movies, Santa's Sleigh. I've got David Steiman right here. Hello, David. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Well, thank you so much, Laura. I'm super excited to be here. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the Santa Sleigh love.
I am just so beside myself that I was able to track you down, and on such short notice, you granted me an interview the week of Christmas. So thank you. So going back to Santa's Sleigh, how, what, where, when, why? I want to know what was this a story that you had long been in development, that you had been thinking about since you were a kid?
This story actually was something that my father's father handed down to him and then told me. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was
you had me go.
This is true. No, it's kind of I don't know, crazy how it all came up. I was working on Rush Hour 2, and I was watching Jackie Chan block out a fight scene. And so we were on a boat in Hong Kong Harbor in the middle of the night, and my job was just to stay out of the way because the space was so tight. And so I was kind of on this top deck just watching him kind of block out the scene. And just Jackie Chan style, he never has a weapon really. He just makes use of whatever's around him. And I thought, wouldn't that be cool if a bad guy did that? You know, just something like, you know, maybe a Jason, Freddy type thing. And then at the same time, I was playing around with this idea of, man, if you flip these two letters around, Satan goes to Santa. And so my caveman epiphany was, let me merge these two things together. And I just started to write out just the opening scene. And I didn't really know what to do with that, but I really started that whole opening scene. And my thought was, well, this would be a great film. And like in the style of Scream, if we could just pack it full of cameos, because then you don't know where this thing's going to go and it'll grab people's attention. And so that's kind of how it all started, where I just wrote this one scene out. It was all handwritten too. And so, yeah. And so I showed a few people, they laughed, they thought it was funny. I kept writing a little bit more. But it was, this whole thing was handwritten. And I had pitched it to my boss. We were doing an international press junket, and I had a captive audience on an airplane. And so I was just like, hey, I just want to show you this thing. He's like, ugh. So he starts reading. He's like, okay, this isn't bad. And then that was it. And then maybe it was like 6-8 months later, it was in the summer, and I got a phone call. He was at a party with Roger Corman. And yeah, that Roger Corman. And so he's like, hey, David, Roger loves your idea of a movie. And so he put me on the phone with him. And Roger's like, I love the title of this. He's like, do you want to direct it? And I'd never thought about directing it that moment. And then I was like, I'll never get this chance probably again. And so I'll always jump in on something. So I said, sure. And so that's kind of how it all started. And then I had met, we set up a meeting, we got to meet Roger Corman, and he shared so much wisdom, right? Like, I mean, I'm talking like he's done more than any film school for a director, right?
Right.
All the people's careers he's launched, and how, you know, this was the best working experience and internship you could ever get, trial by fire, right? And so Roger kind of gave me his marketing overview. He's like, I'll come up with a title and see how people respond. And if people respond, I'll make a one sheet. And if the one sheet gets a response, I'll make the film. And so, right. So, okay, we had the title, and then I started to work with people that I knew that could create a one sheet. And kind of simultaneously, I had a really good buddy who was a PA that I'd met on a couple films, and we'd worked together, and he was really into wrestling. And so he had said, hey, I've got, do you want to go to, it was like, I don't know, Monday Night Raw or SummerSlam, or not SummerSlam, but I think it was Monday Night Raw. And it happened to be in LA. And he's like, I got backstage access. So like, I'll go anywhere if you've got backstage access, right? Because it's just like,
it's
you
a
just
whole
get to
other world.
see so much more. You get to experience it and you appreciate it. So we actually got to go in from where they make the deliveries into the stadium, like that down ramp where usually buses come out of or semis load in. We go in there, and I grew up a big wrestling fan. And so the first thing I see is the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. And I'm like, what? And he's shaving his chest with this really cheap pink, like disposable razor. And there's some people oiling him up behind him. And I'm looking around, and it's the circus. It is like, whoa, right? I'm just blown away by everything I'm seeing. My head's spinning. Bad guys are friends with good guys, and they're all talking and hanging out and watching what's going on in the front of the house, and, all this and that. And so my buddy had kind of known Goldberg, and we went out into the arena and had like front row seats. And all of a sudden, I didn't really know Goldberg because I had taken a little bit of a break from wrestling. Like, I hadn't been that ingrained in the wrestling culture. I'd left for a decade or so. And when Goldberg entered the arena, and everybody was going, Goldberg. And I'm looking, and in my head before, Santa to me was like, I mean, not that they would do it, but like a James Gandolfini type, or Robbie Coltrane, like Hagrid, like somebody big and hulking. But then I saw Goldberg, and I'm like, well, why couldn't Santa be like just super muscular and, like just a beast? And I started to think, well, I wonder if we could do that. So then I watched Goldberg, and I watched the people react. And we went backstage, and we met Goldberg. And he's like, he invited us to dinner. And this was the wackiest dinner because it was with Mr. Belding from Saved by the Bell, which is like, and then David Arquette and us. And we're all at the restaurant together. And I'm just kind of taking it in. But then I was like, hey, I hate to be this guy. I hate to be the Mr. Hollywood guy. I've got a script for you. And so he's like, yeah, what's about? And I told him. And so his basic takeaway was, so I'm Jewish and I get to play a murdering Santa Claus. He goes, I'm in. And so we made the one sheet. My same buddy got me on the set of like Spider-Man 2. I think he was like, had a bit part in there, and he was there. And so I gave him the one sheet, and he was like, yeah, just send the contract over, whatever. And so we had somebody attached who was, a wrestling champ.
Absolutely.
Roger Corman's kind of interest helped to launch it off the ground. After that, Lionsgate said, oh, we're interested. We would be interested in financing or distributing. And then at the same time, another company said, well, why don't we finance it? And then you can figure out who can distribute it after. If Lionsgate's interested, maybe they'll be interested later in distribution. And so this company had just gotten done. They had released Monster. Oh. And so I knew Patty Jenkins from before. And so I kind of talked to Patty a little, and she's like, yeah, this is, it's a great opportunity in this. And then, so this is the company that did it. And then one of the first people that hired me in film also had a film going with the same company. And I think it was called The Upside of Anger. But he was in the office next to me there. And it was just like, it was kind of all crazy full circle. And so, yeah. And so that's how that's how it all launched off the ground.
So how much time between your first handwriting it out, meeting Roger Corman, having a dinner with Mr. Belding and Goldberg to getting funding, how much time had elapsed?
I don't remember, but it was probably it was somewhere between 6 months and a year, because nothing's fast, right? Like you have to figure out, okay, now that you have this, I had to it was handwritten. I had to type it out, right? And the story wasn't even fully baked, as you know, it still isn't. No, I get it. But and then it was all the other things, because then it's like, okay, now you got to make sure the financing, you got to find the location. Does that location have incentives, because it's really low budget? And so I know for a while it was they were trying to send us to Eastern Europe. And I'm like, man, we can't go I think it was Romania. I'm like, this is not a Romanian film, It was too costly to shoot in the US. And so I was able to negotiate for Canada. And then we shot up in Edmonton. And Edmonton was amazing because they have a super talented crew there, beyond talented. And the stages that we shot, this was kind of all, I don't know, it just felt right. The stages where we shot were where they had SCTV. Really? So, and I'm a huge Second City TV, SNL, SCTV. And so you'll kind of see that, Dave Thomas is in there from SCTV, right? And then Chris Kattan and SNL. And to me, it was just being a part of history. Now, that wasn't the original location at SCTV, it was after, but it was still whoa. And just being in Edmonton was crazy. So, and then I got to shoot the opening scene in LA.
The opening scene just punches you in the face. There's no, anytime I start to describe it, I'm I'm not spoiling anything. This all happens within the first 3.5 minutes. Did you want to open the movie with a bang like that?
Yeah, it was so that had challenges, right? This is a first time director. And so there's a lot of things working with animals, had that was crazy. Working with ice or water, we had that kind of sucked. Children, all these different components. And now you've got all these personalities for the very first, scene to kick it off. And it's pretty complex. Dinner scenes are already hard enough, just with coverage and making sure that it makes sense. And then you inject action and need to make sure that you get coverage. And we had a really short time to do it. And it keeps going and Goldberg's not even in that scene, because he had it was the night, but a lot of stuff was happening leading up to this. The night before, Goldberg had some sort of reaction where I think he had wrestled on the weekend and got an infection and had to go to the hospital, an emergency thing, because he had gotten some infection and they're whoa, you need to come in ASAP. So I didn't have him for that scene. And so I had to find a body double, which is impossible for somebody like Goldberg. And if you slow it down in that action, when you see some of the folks in there, you can, if you go really frame by frame, it's not Goldberg. And then because of that, I had to go back and then integrate Bill into the scene, which is also, to come up with that, there was a lot of curveballs.
Flawless execution, because I have watched Santa Slay several times. Never once have I picked up on that. So well done.
That, and also I had an amazing crew. These were folks that I got to work with in LA and knew, and were just doing me favors too. So they were there, they were lending their time, and they wanted to help me put our best foot forward. And so I owe anything to everybody that helped out. But then it was to construct the people around the table. Rebecca, I knew, because that was my boss's old girlfriend. And so we had a good relationship, and I'm if I ever have a film, sure, okay, whatever. And then it was finally it happened, and I'm like, Rebecca, I need you. So she was cool, I'm in. And she was friends with Chris. So she helped wrangle Chris. Which, by the way, just even seeing at the craft service table, I just remember, I was oh my God, I can't believe Chris Kattan is here. And then at the craft service table, there was an apple. It's everybody's okay, newbie, I got it, right? So,
but you're
yeah. Just, yeah. Or just to have Fran do her laugh.
Santa?
And then Fran, right? Like, I can't, like, I'm blown away now thinking this is the president of SAG and just what she just led everybody through. And she was so awesome and friendly and kind and nice and beautiful and all that, even in her bald wig with hair cut, just like she was just so cool, you know. Um, James Caan. So he kind of like got roped into it a little bit. It was like a favor. And then I just remember it was 2 nights before. It could have even been the same night Goldberg. I was just like, what else is going to happen tonight? Right. And I just had to rush over to his house. And he's like, I don't know, man. He's like, for a kid's film, there's a lot of swearing in this. And I'm like, oh God. I don't think he read this. And he's like, I can't do this. And I'm like, oh, you have to at this point. And I just basically, I might have even cried. I don't even, if I wasn't crying inside.
There's
Trying to be a ninja.
no shame in that. If you get the final shot, then it's worth it.
And so he's like, okay. But he was shooting Las Vegas, the TV show at the time. And he's like, all right, but I can't give you a whole day. I can give you one day. And then he ended up coming in late because he got delayed. So I think I had like 5 or 6 hours and I had to shoot him first. So which means I had to kind of block everything else out. And so it was just like, so I think Rebecca and Chris came back when I had to shoot Goldberg and integrate him into the scene. But everybody else was just like over the shoulder body double stuff.
Like I was saying, there's so much care, love, and detail put into Santa Sleigh, down to the book, the Rankin Bass scene. Walk me through how that was executed. How did you get puppeteers to do stop motion animation? Because that the first time I saw it, I think I was screaming. That like blew my mind. I was so happy.
So how do you give exposition and backstory where it's just that, like, okay, especially in a film like that? So I wanted it to be entertaining. I wanted it to kind of keep your attention, and everything I tried to incorporate as much as my things that I liked about Christmas as possible. And growing up, like, you look forward to that time of year because you knew Rankin Bass would be on there, Frosty the Snowman would be on TV, and and I loved Yukon Cornelius and Burl Ives as the snowman.
Well, now let me tell you about Rudolph.
And all that. So I wanted that feeling, and I thought this would be a good way to kind of tell the backstory. And then to inject some of the things that I didn't have the budget for like some of those things. So like, how do we bring in an army of trolls or, elves or whatnot? So we could do that in stop motion. Now, again, Edmonton, super talented, creative community. They had these guys that could do stop motion. They were doing everything analog, like full on construction set, making the miniatures, the little armatures and all that stuff, and would shoot meticulously. Now, here's, again, another thing. There was a camera jitter. And so when we looked at the footage, because, it takes so long to do, everything was shaking and it was almost unusable. So if you look at like the parts where Santa gets angry, that was actually the camera jitter that we ended up using, and we had to go back and reshoot it, and that took forever where it was getting behind, like, come on guys, like, and you can't rush that, it's meticulous. And so we had to recreate that. So even though it's like just a couple minutes on screen, that's a couple days worth of doing, if not weeks, really. And I don't want to underplay that. And then you mentioned the Book of Claws, and that's funny or not, because we had a prop trailer which caught on fire, and that was in there. And so I have the original book, and we actually used the one that was in the fire. And so it added to its authenticity because some of it's charred on the edge. And when you have that book, it smells a little still crispy. Like whatever, was total Murphy's Law in this thing.
But it all ended up working so well together, and just the attention to detail. You've got the branding of Goldberg's face as Santa just on everything, on the sleigh, on his belt buckle, It's so lovingly done. So in terms of difficult scenes to shoot, I mean, you were working with an absolutely enormous bison, and I have watched every single special feature that is on the DVD more than once. I'm not ashamed to admit I love it. But in the behind the scenes where they show the bison just hoisted up in the air, can you walk us through what that was like? Because that must have been absolutely nerve-wracking.
So that's the one still image that I kind of keep close by, because when I took a step back, and I'm like, holy blank, like I can't believe what we're doing right now. And then it was like, this is the magic of movie making, right? So you've got a bison that we painted white, an outfit with different kind of saddlery and armory, that kind of thing. We've got him hoisted probably 15 feet in the air. We had a very short time. I want to say that they gave us like 10, no more than 25 seconds, because of the weight of the harness and the bison. We didn't want to, I mean, it's already probably a little disconcerting if you're a bison anyway. And then you've got the sleigh up there, giant blue screen. And now I'm trying to convince our DP, our cinematographer and camera person to, like, they're up on a crane. And I'm like, oh, just go under it, because we need to give the illusion of flying and then pull back. And he's like, I'm not going under there anymore than I need to. And he didn't even have his cameraman do it. The DP did it himself. And the DP, we were, again, lucky to have everybody. This was like one of the best cinematographers in Matthew Leonetti. And just to see how far people were willing to push themselves. And we had 2 bison, but that one that did that, it was crazy to look at this image and to see it happen. One of the bison, I don't remember if it was Ronnie or Apache, was really like scared by Bill's voice. Like, because Bill would be, coming out, oh, whatever. And that thing would take off. And then you'd see, and you're like, oh, should we keep rolling? No, we got to cut. Because then you start to see the crew chasing after it. And so, but it's daunting, like, all, trying to corral a bison. Whatever a bison wants to do, the bison will do. But
now, you mentioned Bill had a body double in the opening scenes, but for the remainder of the movie, did he do all of his own stunts? That's incredible.
Everything. Because he's Bill. Like, what's a stunt person going to do that he hasn't, that can't, like, throws himself off heights and flips and, lands crazy and just has been through so much stuff. I mean, yeah.
He does such a great job, and I can tell every time that I watch the movie how much fun, not only Goldberg, but how much fun everyone's having shooting it. You guys must have had a blast.
I think everybody had a blast, but probably Robert Cole. He was probably like, what am I doing here? Like, how did I end up here? I'm getting like
from I Spy to Santa Sleigh.
Right. It was like,
he's so good though as Grandpa.
Turn the power off.
I know, he was awesome. But I'm imagining, like, I can't, not that they're the same, but I imagine it was probably similar to like what Alec Guinness probably thought of like, why am I in this star space film going on here originally, until he was like, oh, I don't know if we ever got to that part with Robert, but I imagine it was probably a similar feeling, like, look at this, I was an actor and now I'm
How many days were you in production?
Oh God, I can't remember, but it was probably around 20, 22, somewhere around that. And then we had the additional day in LA, which ended up being 2 days because of the, the problem with Bill. But it was fast. It was fast. And we had to lose, action, even though it's a blip on the screen, it takes so much longer to film action than dialogue. And so we had to cut a couple action scenes because we were just running out of time. And so it's like, okay, so I was like writing at night, trying to make it, okay, how can we make this work? Because we just lost this action scene. And so, okay, let's try and bump it up. Okay, so maybe it's going to be more of a love story or something, what people want.
And as a first-time director, the fact that, you started out writing it, then you find yourself thrown into the director's chair. you must have been very attached during the filming process, wanting to make sure that your vision was coming through. Was that difficult to juggle as a first-time director, making sure that you were getting the shots that you wanted and the scenes that you wanted?
It's hard to let go because everything's so important to you. And so I think this is the way I view it. Like when you come up with an idea, however you have it in your head and how it translates to the computer screen or paper or whatever, you kind of lose a little bit. You can't recreate everything that is in your head to that. There loses something. And then when you hand it off to different people, it gets further and further away from maybe that vision that you had, right? Because people make it their own. They take a character, they do this or that, or maybe something's not in your head, like the setting, the scenery, a prop, whatever, that didn't come exactly how you had envisioned it. So you kind of lose some of that. But then you also get some bumps that are unexpected because you try and hire the best people you can. So an actor sometimes will elevate something even higher than what you thought, or delivered a line better, or come up with a line that's even better, or your cinematographer does something different, or the prop, the prop folks make something even better than what you thought. And so you kind of go through this whole like push and pull of what it is. And so it's painful because as somebody who writes and directs it, you want it to be perfect. You want everybody to love it. You want it to be this. And sometimes your vision's realized, sometimes it's better than it is. And, and you just know all the things that you wanted to go correct that might not have. And so you carry that. And so they often say that you never finish a project, you abandon it. And I get that now, because a director without a deadline will probably work on it for almost ever. And so, there's a saying that you don't let an actor into the editing room because they're just focused on their performance only and they don't really care. And so it's hard to be a director in there. And you just have to trust, what the people that you really value and appreciate are around you to say, hey, you could totally live without this, or this doesn't further the story, or this feels a little draggy. And so, it was that learning experience. And so you don't want to learn on somebody's dime, but that in essence became film school. Sometimes you feel like George Costanza because it's like, in the moment you wish, oh, what's the best line? What's this? Or what could we have done? And then when you're watching it later, you're like, oh, I should have said this. That would have been the perfect thing. Jerk store or whatever,
Jerk store is the line. Jerk store.
And so like you feel that way. And I need to be reeled in sometimes because I could go too far into camp or too far into being corny or just something, or we don't need that extra dad joke, right? And so it's just like you have to have some parameters. So, it can be a dangerous thing too. I mean, I had Santa walking into, this was Christmas Day, hungry, and what's open? The only thing left is, so when you saw those Orthodox, the Jewish people, so he was actually going to follow them in to the Chinese restaurant because that's the only thing, open on Christmas Day. Being Jewish, I know this. And so he goes, he's not getting service. He gets a little uppity, Santa, like as he's trying to get a table. So now you've got the whole kitchen help confronting him Kung Fu style. And it was a huge battle royale. That's one of the things that we just had to cut out. But, that was like those things that was like, would push it more towards that crazy action gore.
What I love are all of the puns, though, that are, in my opinion, perfectly peppered in and perfectly spaced apart, even down to the truck scene you were talking about, the back of the truck scene. That is such a nod to Terminator 2, and he's Robert Patrick, and he's running after. It's so good. Even the ludicrous move, bitch, get out the way.
Move, bitch, get out of the way.
You hit every check box on what a great movie is to me. And it's such a blast, and it's such a treat to be able to share it every single time with someone who hasn't seen it. And that's what I do every year, because I was working at Hollywood Video when this came out, and I remember it very vividly on the shelf. I'm like, Santa's sleigh, what is that?
But see, okay, but there's a tone thing, right? So what you held up, that DVD cover, I think that might set unrealistic expectations, because if I see that, I'm getting a straight up slasher, gory film, and now I might not like, what is this? This is not what I'm, uh, thank you for not making us or Samoan or what, it's just like, that's not what I expected. And so like the original artwork I thought was more on point, but they're like, oh, this isn't going to market because, Lionsgate, everybody knows what they think is going to sell. And the original one was like a bright, warm fireplace with Goldberg peeking out from underneath it. And so it looked like it might be a little bit funny and campy. And so I think that was like the tone, trying to mix genres. But that, to me, it was like, uh-oh, we're going to alienate people who are looking for, a slasher film. And that might be disappointing because there's either not enough gore or not enough nudity or not enough whatever.
I mean, you checked it all. You had gore. You had an entire strip club scene, which should certainly
check that box.
Yes, that would whet any nudity palette. I love the strip club scene so much. Gold diggers. I want a shirt. I want a gold digger shirt. Do you still have any?
All right, gold diggers. Now this is actually part of my my backstory. My grandfather owned a strip club called Gold Diggers, and that's why I put it in there. And so I grew up at a strip club, and so a lot of the illusion is, the veil of illusion is dropped to me. Like
the magic, yeah.
Yeah. So my mom's rule was that when I was growing up, that they had to have their tops on when I was near them, because they would feed me quarters like all day, and I would play pinball. And my grandpa and I remember we would drive around Saturday morning and chase down like the beer distributors, and he would buy kegs off like their trucks, put it in his giant Lincoln trunk, and like that's how. So everything was just like, it's the different world, and it was my thing. Like I want to pay a little homage to, my background a little, and so Gold Diggers was his club, his strip club in Detroit on Michigan Avenue. And it was so that was part of where I grew up. So that scene was tricky because we can't pay enough. Like the pay that we would give extras or stunt workers isn't more than a stripper would work, like that would make.
Yeah.
And so to try and convince some strippers to come, because you can't have extras like take their tops off and that. And so they would say, okay, well, we'll come in during the day and we'll give you a few hours, and then they would like leave, or it was just like, so it was making use of what's there. And so on the swing was actually a stunt person. Her name was Wanda, and because Bill kept working with her over and over on this stunt, magic happened. They got married. They've been married, at least probably now maybe around almost approaching 2 decades, if not there. They have a son who's, got to be 17, 18 years old. And I see on, he's going to be a beast of a football player because he's going to college now. And so Bill met his wife on Santa's sleigh.
Santa's sleigh is responsible for Bill Goldberg's marriage.
If his son ends up being a monster in the NFL, Santa's sleigh might have played just a tiny role,
You better get sent a jersey if that becomes the case. But the AV Club, I love their quote about it, that it might be one of the most wholesome slashers. That it is. It has. That's what I love about this movie. It has heart. Like it has.
I
heart.
wish you were in the test audience and maybe about 300 other yous, and that would have been a different feeling.
Every person I've ever showed this movie to, and I have a lot of movie parties here with lots of people in attendance, they always love it. I've never heard someone say like, dude, come on. Like it is, because I feel like it is also having a little bit of a renaissance. I always see people sharing clips on Instagram and such. When did you notice there was a uptick in
Maybe a
talking
couple
about.
days ago when I got an email from you.
I promise you, there are so many more people who absolutely love this movie. I love this movie so much.
Oh my God. I love you for loving that movie.
But I also recognize when someone's like, I'm writing it, I'm directing it, because I know what, on a much smaller scale, what it feels like. And your vision came through, and it came through in such a well done way. Something that I love about Santa's Sleigh is, stay with me here, relates to one of my favorite underappreciated horror movies, which is Jason X. Jim Isaac directed. He has sadly since passed away, but that film, I always thought, one, had heart. Two, it was a movie that knew exactly what it was, but it was having fun with itself. And that's the feeling I get each time that I watch Santa's Sleigh. And in my eyes, you're like the holiday version of Jim Isaac, who I hold in the highest regard. And I feel like it's so sad because Jason X is definitely having a renaissance. I feel like more people have warmed up to it and realized, like, just like Santa Sleigh looks like, in my eyes, a $20 million movie with a huge budget. And you're laughing. I know you didn't have that kind of budget, but Jason X was in the same line. Like they did not have a huge budget on that, but it looks like it cost so much money, and they made the most of what they had and pushed it as far as they could, just like with Santa's Sleigh. So Jason X is that's another favorite horror movie of mine. What is David Steiman's favorite horror movie?
The original Night of the Living Dead.
Excellent answer.
I mean, I won't say I was a grown ass man, but I was close. I just remember, like, I was freshman year in my dorm, and it was Halloween, and they had like some kind of cable closed circuit thing in the dorms, and it was on at night. And I don't know why. Like, I know the dorm where I was near where they kept the cadavers. And I actually had difficulty sleeping that night. And I was like, and it was like that. And I just thought it was so well done because it's like black and white, yet, sometimes in black and white, you don't feel like you're missing color. You actually feel like sometimes you see more. And just the dark ending. And then there were like social justice components in there, and it just the slow build and just getting confined into smaller spaces. And that I tried to do just something like just squeeze them into the basement and that, but I wanted an out, But I would say Night of the Living Dead was probably I would say that one. And maybe there's a zombie thing. Oh God, Danny Boyle's.
28 Days Later.
Yeah. Oh man, like that was the next like one that was really like, whoa, game changer. Just even the opening scene to wake up in a hospital and the whole world is just so completely changed, and you don't know what happened. And that was just like, whoa, you got thrust right onto that ride, and you didn't know where it was headed. And so I would say those two are probably the ones that would really speak to me.
I'm a total Tom Savini lover, the special effects artist, and he did Dawn of the Dead. And I loved Dawn of the Dead in high school. That was probably my favorite movie when I was younger. And to your point about when a movie's in black and white, like you said, you don't always need to see the color. Tom Savini always says it's what you don't see that scares you. And, he said it also affords him the ability to, when he's doing a difficult shot, if you cut away at the right moment, it's what your mind fills in the blanks that makes it
your
scary.
Imagination is worse or is way more vivid than anything that anybody could put in front of you. And so, Hitchcock style, right? Like, you didn't see what happened in the shower. You just saw the aftermath, but that was scary enough. Right. And so, and black and white.
Yes. Hershey syrup going down the drain. What is the most meaningful takeaway that you had after you wrapped Santa's Sleigh? What was the best part of filming it for you?
the experience. I got to do something that a lot of people won't, can't, don't have the opportunity, the privilege to do. And it was chaos in a great way, like, answering 1,000 questions per hour and having to make those decisions and keeping a team moving forward, coming up with something at the end, right? I mean, there was lots of lessons. And so I would say the experience, and that gives you confidence to do things. It doesn't necessarily, mean something in film, but just like I can lead a team, I can do, I can come up with something creative. And so to see that what I wrote, somebody said, and it lives on in a way that I could see it, it's just, there's something really crazy about something that you wrote and having somebody else, act it out or say it or portray it. Like that, there's something gratifying about that. And I could see, probably where, a playwright or screenwriter gets that adrenaline to see their final product. It's hard to say, oh, cool, I gave the world a killer Santa Claus, but I'm glad it's out there.
Absolutely. So you obviously left the movie open for a sequel with the ending. Am I right or am I wrong?
Well, you don't want to kill a good bad guy. You have to leave the door open a little.
Do you think that there's still time for that door to be fully open? Because I know a lot of people would want to see a sequel.
What's the chance I'm going to make it, right? Like,
I am your biggest cheerleader right now. I believe you. We could get this done.
I'll never say no. And I don't know. Fans, what do you think? Are you ready?
Let's crowdsource this. We can totally fund this project. I believe in Santa's Sleigh 2, Electric Boogaloo.
A lot more breakdancing in this one. We have a budget for cardboard.
David, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me right before the holidays to talk about one of the greatest horror movies to ever grace this planet, Santa's Sleigh. Happy holidays to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Midnight Rhino.
Thank you. It is a total pleasure. Thank you. And have a happy holiday. Don't get killed.
I'll try not to, because I got to get this episode out before at least that happens. So yeah. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Fuck.
Santa's greetings in our souls.
Yummy fruity pebbles in our bowls. Oh, here comes you know who. Yabba dabba fruit, delicious do. Ho, 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 I'm hungry. Santa, my pebbles. Your pebbles. 'Tis the season to be sharing, Fred. Happy holidays, pal. Oh, Fred. Fruity and Cocoa Pebble cereals, part of this nutritious breakfast. Ho, 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 ho.
To learn more about the celebration of Christmas, the Library of Congress suggests these books: Celebrating Christmas Around the World by Herbert H. Wernicke, The Christmas Tree Book by Philip V. Snyder, and Guinness Book of Christmas, edited by Tom Hartman. These and many other informative books are waiting for you in your local library and bookstore. Visit them. They'll be happy to help you read more about it.
To help make this holiday season your nicest ever, WDOK FM 102 will bring you 36 hours of uninterrupted Christmas music from noon Christmas Eve until midnight Christmas Day. WDOK FM 102 wishes you and your family a very Merry Christmas.
Sunday afternoon. Celebrate the holiday season with two special weekend movies.
You have found favor with God. Very soon he will give you a son, and you are to call him Jesus.
At 1, WUAB brings you the inspirational saga of Mary and Joseph, a story of faith. Then at 4, enjoy an encore presentation of Miracle on 34th Street, in color, starring Edmund Gwenn and Natalie Wood. Celebrate the season Sunday with Channel 43.
Hey, everybody. Just so you know, you can get great t-shirts at midnightrental.com. I've got a vision that I'm not wearing this right. Well, Emmy, you don't have arms. I have arms. I just walk on them. Ah, geez, Emmy. Well, I tell you what, folks, no matter what Emmy looks like in it, you're going to look great. Check it out at midnightrental.com and get your own today.
Look, you can't make it to midnight and be talking about movies without bringing in a midnight snack. Now, I've gone on many dates with just myself and a package of Oreos. They'll never let you down. But there is something truly special about being bleary-eyed late at night and using an oven, which is why many people's favorite go-to is pizza rolls. Ah, these little pillow-shaped pockets of molten hot lava sauce and artificial cheese and ambiguous meat bites. Gino Paolucci founded Gino's Inc. in 1968 when he created pizza rolls.
How about a pizza roll snack from Gino's?
Which were a take on egg rolls filled with pizza ingredients, the first being cheese.
More coffee, Tom?
No, thanks, dear.
Try one of these Gino's pizza rolls, Brad. They're great.
Okay.
Do you like the pizza rolls?
Wild, they taste like cheeseburgers.
And these taste like chili burgers, and then over here I have ham and cheese.
You seem to have everything, Mrs. Clark. Ever think you had bad breath, too?
No, but you do.
In 1985, Paolucci cashed in when he sold his beloved Gino's Pizza Rolls brand to Pillsbury for a paltry $135 million.
Nice thing about these pizza rolls, you just take them out of the freezer and pop them into the oven.
Nearly 50 years later, and I still can't get the cook time right on these. Too long, and you will need skin grafts for the roof of your mouth, and too short, you're eating an ice brick. And forget microwaving these, because you're just going to wind up with a soft sponge of Italian in your mouth. And nobody wants that. So, fire up the oven, pop in some pizza rolls, and let's take a look back at some of our favorite midnight snacks of yesteryear.
Oh, a commercial break. I'm so hungry. What am I going to fix? I got it. New microwave hot bites chicken nuggets. Made especially for microwaves to taste great. Perfect. I'll be back in 2 minutes when they're done.
What's the matter, you? Hey! What do you gotta say?
Hey, don't you miss that taste?
What you mama gonna say?
Eat your Gino's pizza roll. It's a nice hot snack.
When's the last time you had a pizza roll snack?
What's the matter, you? Hey, what do you gotta say? Hey!
You know how good the Ginos are, so what's the matter, you?
Hey!
Both these people are eating a balanced, nourishing meal.
But that's a pizza. Gino's natural.
Both meals include foods from the 4 basic groups: dairy, meat, grain, and vegetables.
But that's a pizza.
Gino's Natural No Preservatives Pizza, a nourishing, balanced meal with no artificial ingredients.
It's still a pizza.
Which meal would you rather eat? The Natural Pizza, one of Gino's fine Italian foods.
Stop! Stop everything!
What now, Professor?
An idea that will change the cookie world forever! Melted chocolatey middles in the cookies!
Too late, we just did it. New Keebler Magic Middles. Try one.
Wow!
Crisp cookie outside, luscious melted chocolatey filling inside.
A work of genius!
We're pretty proud.
Stop everything again! Put chocolate chips in them!
We've got those too.
New Magic Middles from Keebler.
Genius, pure genius.
Chi-Chi's new Ultimate Combo shows how even we get carried away. It's 8 great Chi-Chi's favorites. Cheese nachos, a burro, enchilada, chili con queso, taco beans, rice plus Mexican fried ice cream. All at a price even we don't believe. Chi-Chi's Ultimate Combo. Better hurry in before we have second thoughts.
Chi-Chi's, a celebration of food.
Watch this.
If, by being fed a McBorris burger, Bullwinkle is abducted.
Squirrel pay big ransom to get him back.
What we want is what we get.
But Rocky overheard the entire plot.
Those two again.
Swiftly, Rocky flies to Taco Bell, home of the original Taco Supreme and the humongous Big Beef Taco. The huge crunch awakens Bullwinkle, who cleverly escapes.
I love it when he calls me clever. Saved by the bell.
Hey, Lenora, what are you doing?
Haven't you been listening to all of the plot lines I've been going over? All of these holiday horror movies? I keep finding weapons and threatening notes all over the store. It's only a matter of time before the same thing happens to me. So I'm getting the hell out of here for the remainder of the holiday season.
Whoa. Pump the brakes, Lenora. You put all those weapons around the place. Don't you remember you had that whole rum cake and then you said, I'm going to catch the guy that was putting all the porno tapes around the store and renting them out?
I did?
Yeah.
But how was I supposed to know there was any rum in that cake? I don't even drink.
Well, you didn't drink it, you ate it, and you were toasty.
Well, yet another mystery has been solved. Happy holidays from everyone here at Midnight Rental. And remember, be careful what you eat.
Thank you so much to David Steiman for sitting down with me to talk about his experience working on Santa's sleigh. Now, everyone, be sure to let myself and David know how much you would love to see Santa's sleigh too. I hope you enjoyed this stocking stuffer episode of Midnight Rental. Happy holidays and Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
Who's next?
Stop it now. Turn it off. Turn it off. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.